Hi everyone, my name is Xoliswa Mahlangu, the head of digital learning and technology at Sifiso Learning Group and one of the anchor judges for the South African Artificial Intelligence Awards. My opinion on our AI readiness as a country is that we've got pockets of excellence. We've got the right policies on paper. We are starting with our journey, but we are in a state of unevenness. There's spaces where people have all the resources and they're doing their best with AI, but there's spaces that are still even lacking the most basic infrastructure. And those are things that we need to be fully aware of as we chart into the state of AI in education in South Africa. So what excites me most is not the fancy tools or the things that people can use with AI. It's how AI is actively transforming classrooms. AI gives teachers superpowers. Teachers that had to rely on designers to create content that is engaging for their students, they can create it at a click of a button. Teachers that would not be able to help students because of distance, they can use tools that can reach students with examples that are meaningful to the students. Teachers that had lots and lots of marking can literally take a picture of the work that they need marked and it can get done. Teachers that would be spending hours and hours on comments, they can get insights on what the students are doing. Students that would otherwise get stuck have a personal tutor without even having to go out of their homes. Parents that are wanting to help their little ones, they've got people or resources that they can always tap into. So it's tools that are going to enhance what we're already doing in the classroom, tools that are going to enhance what we're already doing in the skills development pipelines. That's what excites me the most. It brings the urgency, it brings the magic closer to the people. So it is quite clear that if we jump into it without addressing the inequalities first, we are going to widen the gap. The digital divide already existed even before AI was a factor. The digital divide existed when we introduced coding and robotics into schools. Schools from more affluent spaces had the resources and they could start. Schools from the townships and the rural areas are still waiting to start. So if we are not very intentional about how we are rolling out AI in our environments, we are going to widen that gap. How do we make sure that we don't widen it? Let's design for a low-tech space first. So we need to be designing for mobile first. We know that in most spaces, at least the students have a phone. At least the teachers have a tablet. Let's design solutions that start off there. And then we can always upscale. We can always do something. Let's design for offline. In most schools, they say they've got the internet, but the internet just covers the main reception block. As we're designing our solutions, we need to be building things that will work in those solutions, in those situations, and make sure that they are giving the benefit to a greater crowd. I think the skills that our young people need to get, we've always spoken about coding. And when we speak about coding, we're not necessarily aiming for all the students to be software developers. The skills that we're building in them is critical thinking. What we're teaching them is critical thinking. We're teaching them perseverance, creativity. In a world that is AI first, everyone is a creator. Everyone can create something. But coming up with ideas that are novel and new is what is going to set the people apart. Communication. Having empathy in a space where technology can do so much, we need people who put people first, who understand the needs of the people. Those are the people that will be building the solutions that are groundbreaking. Technology can always come up with the most high tech, but understanding what other people need and solving those problems is what is going to set the students apart as they go into the world. I don't see AI replacing teachers. I feel teachers are central to all the education systems. Even in campaigns that we used to run just to get schools up and about with coding and robotics, we feel that the teacher is the most important part of the system. AI is not replacing teachers. AI is enabling teachers. It's giving teachers more time to deal with admin. It's giving teachers more time to come up with solutions or examples that are meaningful. It's giving teachers more time to explore. It's giving teachers back their time so that they can actually focus on the students. They don't have to drown in hours and hours of admin. They don't have to drown in hours and hours of planning. I remember when we had to, because I taught for quite some time, when you have to design and plan lessons and you are sourcing all these images and having to subscribe to all these other things to make sure that your content is top notch. Now, teachers don't need to do that. They can have it just from one space and just be efficient and have time with their students. So it's not replacing. For teachers who are afraid of technology and implementing AI, it's going to feel uncomfortable. But for the teacher who embraces it and leads with AI first, I've been having trainings with a number of teachers because AI is getting into the school space. And teachers are, some of the questions they're having is, I'm giving homework, and I know the homework is being done by AI because Usipo was not getting these answers when Usipo was in the classroom. But now that Usipo is coming back, this maths homework has been done by AI. Maths is being done by AI for the students. English is the one that is most hit by AI. They come back with perfectly written essays, but you know that Usipo was not doing this in the classroom. So how do you create a framework with your students on what is permissible? What can they do using AI? Like things like formatting, things like proofreading, they can do that with AI. Things like brainstorming, they can do that with AI. Have it on your list of things that are allowed. But passing of AI work as your work, then they need to know that there's consequences. So teachers need to walk into the classroom knowing that there is a framework that they're using with their students. Students are going to use AI. As the teacher, how do you take back control? How do you design assessments that take into consideration that AI is going to be used? So how do you say, use AI first, brainstorm, select a solution, tell me why you selected that solution. So AI gave you 3 solutions, you went to 3 different models. Why did you select that one? And it's changing the face of education, but it can't replace the teacher. So what gives me hope is that young South Africans exploring, they are using AI to their benefit. Just this past weekend, I was at a robotics competition, and one of the requirements was for the students to actually engage with AI and incorporate it into their builds. They are using AI as a tool to expand the things that they could do before. So before they'd be just looking at a problem and trying to solve it in their local community, but now because AI is embedded in the solution, they need to now think about it better. They need to include things that they would otherwise not have access to. They need to train their little models. Just when you're seeing your grade 8s training their models, understanding bias. You know, sometimes we speak about AI bias, but people never see it until they get to train their own model. That, okay, because of the information that I put in here, these are the results I am getting. So for the bigger models that I'm engaging in, who put in the information? What were their interests? And how is that shaping the solutions that I am getting out of the language model that I'm using? So they get to actually work with that. They get to look at solutions for their community and tailor make it to their community. One of the solutions that I was looking at in the competition was a solution that a group of girls had built for zero hunger. And the solution they had looked at was most of the people who do farming in their community are the ladies, because the men have gone to go look for jobs somewhere out of Mpumalanga. But because they are ladies, they can't carry heavy things most of the time. So they built conveyors as part of their solution. And it was them being able to look at their local community, look at their local situation, and be able to identify the problem and solve the problem in the best way possible. Okay, so AI extends digital presence. So as we are adopting more and more of AI, we need to be aware of our digital presence. We teach things like digital citizenship to kids from as early as grade 2. It's in the coding and robotics curriculum from as early as grade 2. Things that happen online stay online, whether you delete them or not. So making sure that students understand that the AI models, they learn from what you put into them. What perception is it building of you as you are inputting things? Equity, we want the state of AI to grow, but are we making sure that there's equity for everyone? We don't want to deepen the digital divide. So are we building solutions with that in mind? Data sovereignty. Is the data localized to the context we're in? Is it something that can work in South Africa? Or are we just importing things and putting them in our spaces? And if we are putting them in their spaces, who owns our data afterwards? And what are they doing with our data? So those are some of the questions we need to ask ourselves as we grow. True collaboration means designing together. So often when government and corporate and society tries to collaborate, we get all caught up in the MOUs and who gets that and naming rights and what. But we're not designing for the problems that we are facing. We are not solving the actual problems. Recently, at one of the education conferences, one of the participants was saying, we keep on having these conversations. We keep on saying this is what the problem is in education, but nobody ever comes in and says, these are my solutions. How do we work together? And I think those are the conversations we should be having. Government has its thing that it's doing. Corporate has its thing that it's doing. Society has what they are doing. How do we then co-design? And when we are co-designing, let us not leave the teachers out of the design. Let us not leave the students out of the design. Because sometimes as corporates, we can come up with solutions that we think work in principle. But when you put them in a school environment, it all turns sour. Sometimes you're designing for a class of 28, and the reality is we've got classes that have 60 students. So you might be thinking teacher is not implementing the way we want the teacher to implement, but the reality on the ground is that she has 60 students, and you've probably given her 20 tablets, and there was a nice ribbon cutting ceremony, and everything looked nice, but we never really looked at the school and designed with the school as we were coming up with our solution. So it's very important to have the teachers at the table. It's very important to have student representation at the table. It's very important to have government at the table. Some of the solutions that I've seen corporates implement, when it gets to the school, it gets rejected because districts were never consulted, and there is no time to be able to cover the actual class content and what you're trying to implement. So it's very important that as we design, not at the end, not when we hand over, as we design, we should be designing together. As a judge, I'm looking for solutions that understand our context. I'm looking for solutions that can work very well in a classroom in the rural areas as much as it's working in a classroom in the private school. I'm looking for solutions that can pass on the power of skills development to the actual user, where I don't have to go to an institution to start my learning journey. I'm looking for solutions that allow micro-learning, where I don't have to go through 6 or 8 months to be able to get my credentials. Those are the types of solutions I'm looking at. I'm looking at solutions where at 12 o'clock, if a student is stuck, they can always access that solution. I'm looking for people who also considered zero rating, because data is a serious issue in our South African spaces. We might have the technology, but we might not have access to the data at that time. So I'm looking at solutions like that bring the power to the people in their hands. The future of AI innovation in South Africa is not going to be found in a tool. It's not something that we should look at in fear or worship or something that we think is super big. It's using those tools that are available and building up on them, making sure that we are not creating students that are mere users of technology, but students that fully understand the back end of technology, that can build onto it and come up with their own solutions, that are aware of the context of South Africa, that are aware of mobile first, that are aware of solving our realities. That's the message that I want to leave.